There have only been 2 rules so far for Saturday Night Thunder in 2025. No gimmicks and no repeats. That's why for our 5th race of the season, we present to you our 5th individual track type, a 1-mile venue with high speeds and even higher banking. From Dover, Delaware, SNT faces off against Monster Mile, Dover Motor Speedway itself for race number 5 on the 2025 calendar. Welcome back to coverage live on FTN Broadcasting. This is Saturday Night Thunder, our premier weekend event on the channel. And of course, we're back at the 1-mile venue in Dover. Welcome back to Dover Motor Speedway. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing what will become an exciting weekend of racing, kicking off with SNT tonight and tomorrow a 500-mile spectacle, the Daytona 500. But of course, we start with our league racing here in SNT as always. Qualifying is currently on the move. Vinny Tigner finds himself up to the provisional pole position as we now take a look downstairs to drivers taking qualifying times. So far, 16 of which have registered for tonight's events. Not everyone's set up just yet, however. It looks like right now, Mike Hill getting on the way. He's in the number 27 tonight with the United States Postal Service. 2 minutes left on the timer for drivers to get 1 lap in. James Thurston jumps up to 2nd on the board with his qualifying lap firmly in the front row. Meanwhile, it looks like Mike Hill, not enough time to put another lap in. Elijah Hoy, Curtis Stanford, Joseph Miller, Matthew White, and Tyler Sevier are the drivers we are waiting on currently, all of which have not put their times in to this point. They still have a minute and a half to do so here, as it looks like time is running out in qualifying. Everyone else putting laps together. Vinny Tigner looking quick, your defending champion, strong at these mile-long circuits. Carter Casey very well at the short tracks in previous seasons, but Dover also drives like a short track. It's a lot like Bristol, but a little bit larger. That's why you'll see someone like Casey jumping up to the top of the sheets. And of course, Thurston, who already has the most wins on the season with 2, coming back for his 3rd win in 3 appearances. He's got a chance to keep his winning streak alive as Elijah Hoy gets on the circuit here. Hoy and his team have come together. It looks like 3 of them on the track tonight, making it 4 with Aaron Schugel returning to the 56. It's going to be Henry Kaloff, Elijah Hoy, Aaron Schugel, and Michael Deitch was in the session. Looks like no longer with us here, so currently back down to 3. As we mentioned, Kaloff Deitch Racing going to get together for the final lap of qualifying. But it doesn't look like there's enough time for Elijah to complete this lap. He's only going out here to get some practice. He'll be starting at the very best in 13th place. It's Hoy's first time in this league competing in Dover. He was a part-time driver last season and looks like he's going for a full-time venture this time around. But league owner and defending champion Vinny Tigner takes it to the top. No surprise, as he's been the quickest man in both practice and qualifying sessions. Checkered flag falls for your hot laps tonight. 17 drivers take it to the track. And now 5 minutes left for our final warm-ups before racing begins. Welcoming back Aaron Schugel in the number 56. He'll be one of 2 drivers tonight, sponsored by the Underdog Racing Podcast. The 56 we usually see with Corey Lyles on Thursday nights, but Aaron Schugel's made it into his own as of recent in SNT. This is his 3rd start of the season, and great to have him back in the URP Chevrolet. He'll have his teammates around him. Hopefully they can do pretty good tonight and stay up in front. 63, Henry Kaloff, when we talk about his team owner, Henry Kaloff of Kaloff Deitch Racing, had a wonderful race last week, was able to convert for a top 10 finish, a top 5 as a matter of fact, most unexpected based on the first 100 plus laps of racing, but at the very end, Kaloff was able to come away with a very strong result as Mac Grab got his first career finish, a P1 at that, his first career win. Before we get to the racing tonight, 150 laps await us. The starting grid has been set, and with a lot of drivers who are very familiar all throughout. A few rookies making their first starts of the season, but overall, a lot of familiar faces. So let's get to know them all once again. Inside of row number 1, the driver we know as our defending champion and league owner. We've said it before, and he's there once again. Vinny Tigner going to be P1 on the board tonight. Tigner going to grab the pole position with a 23.925. That's the quick time over James Thurston. Second place on the order. Thurston's there. 96 machine with a 23.976. Then you got Carmen Chandler, who has been strong as the rookie, leading the rookies in the points. Number 88 going to be starting third tonight. Once again, he is inside the top 3 in qualifying. Carter Casey, for the third time this season, qualifies in the front 2 rows. Your Daytona pole sitter is going to be starting P4 tonight. Henry Kaloff will be 5th. 24.031, looking to back up a great run last week. Notable finish, that's for sure. It'll be Cole Wilson then running P6 and Jackson Van Pelton 7th. Braden Hunsicker will be in 8th, and Kenneth Garrell will be P9 with Chris Tripp rounding out the top 10, 24.203 for the driver, the number 90, Kenneth Garrell, just a bit quicker on that same note. Final drivers in the starting grid go as follows. Aaron Schugel returns, 24.285 for the number 56, and you'll have Mike Hill running the number 27 tonight. He's right there in 12th. Matthew White will be 13th, and it's going to be the number 16 new driver, Joseph Miller, in 14th place. 15th goes to Tyler Seaver, and Elijah Hoy will have 16th position. Brand new driver at the back of the field as well. That is Curtis Stanford in the number 26, the last driver to register for tonight's session, and it's his first career start. A total of 17 drivers have made it to the field tonight in Dover, Delaware. Looking forward to 150 laps of racing. That's your starting grid for the Constitution 150. 2 rookies and a boatload of drivers we're quite familiar with here. Minute and 30 seconds left on the track. Braden Hunsicker, again, fast in final practice. Last week, he was the top driver in the second practice session, wasn't able to amount that for a race victory. Nevertheless, Braden could be strong here in Dover. Not a lot of drivers on the track tonight means that racing could be close quarters. That all depends on whether or not the drivers play nice, of course. Sometimes we see drivers race rather respectful when the field is a little bit smaller than usual. Other times, drivers take advantage of the fact, while we don't have as many drivers, you might see some more opportunistic driving, to say the least, and that's not all too much a surprise at times. Tonight, of course, we're expecting to see some good green flag racing, as we usually do in SNT. It really shouldn't be much of a problem to go most of the distance without a yellow flag. That remains to be seen, however, and currently drivers are still getting themselves settled in. Cameron Chandler, that's one driver you have to be watching right now. That number 88 has gotten away with 4 top 5s so far on the season. One of the best drivers in this campaign so far. Cameron hoping to keep those statistics positive, of course. Tonight could be his first career win. It looked like he had a chance to get away with victory last week. Just didn't turn out that way thanks to the green-white checkered, where Mac Grab came through the field and tore it up in the last moments. Mac, as a result, got the checkered flag. Final seconds in practice. Chandler comes in. Braden Hunsicker, the fastest man with a quick time, 23.990. The only driver in this session to break into the sub-24 barrier. Quick speeds coming in at about 152 miles an hour in that session as well. So keep your eyes peeled. The average speed for this race could come somewhere around 150 if there is no caution. Starting grid assembled once again. Henry Kaloff and his Chevrolet Camaro going to be inside of row number 3. Right now, he's going to flicker back and forth. Teammates going to be coming back into the fold once again, but for a notable driver in that front row, while he has a team, his teammates are not with him tonight. That's the number 96, of course, of James Thurston. Thurston, already a two-time winner this season, has matched his 2024 SNT win total in the first month of competition in 2025. No doubt Thurston coming back as a stronger driver and more committed perhaps to a full-time run. If today goes his way, it would be his third of the season and would come out to his most wins in 1 year racing an SNT. Thurston made his first starts in SNT competition late 2023 during the final moments of the Truck Series era. He raced at the Texas Motor Speedway alongside River Page and Alexander Balderas and made a few other starts in between, but trucks weren't his best equipment, so he backed it down, of course, and came back during the full-time Xfinity era. Got a victory once in Las Vegas in 2024A and once again in Las Vegas in the 2024 finale, so he proved to be the best driver in Sin City, but he's been a little bit more varied since that point. Both Rockingham and Atlanta went his way, and now he leads the field with 2 wins compared to 1 apiece for Jacob Wilkerson and Mac Grab respectively. Vinny Tigner, if he is to win tonight, would be able to match those last 2 drivers and take his first win of the season all by himself. Cameron Chandler, Carter Casey, very similar positions. Again, we haven't seen the driver of the number 8, Carter Casey, come through, get himself up to the front of the field for a race win. He's been very strong beforehand, but that top position, it's eluded him. Podiums, top 5s, Carter Casey's seen it all, and qualifying, he's proven one of the best drivers in this league. And since he's shaken out some of the bugs from last year, it looks like right now he could prove a formidable opponent. 8 and 88, top and bottom. They're here together once again, but it'll be Vinny Tigner with control as we get to the front of the field. Matthew White and Elijah Hoy not with us, so 15 drivers going to make up the starting grid as we go green. It looks like currently Curtis Stanford is at the back end of it. There's Stanford right there. Elijah's going to find himself on pit road. Same deal, it looks like, for Matthew White. iRacing official pace car is going to lie down low. Tonight, drivers have to face off against the monster, Miles the Monster himself. Welcome back to Dover, a field of 15 strong with extras in the pits. Get ready to get loose at the Miles circuit. Tigner wiggles big. Thurston leads the field to green. We're 3 wide into turn 1. James Thurston gets the field going. Talk about a dicey start. Vinny Tigner making a big mistake jumping from first to fourth, so he's going to go backwards on that note, but a lot of times still to recover. Luckily, nobody else gets involved. We've seen a few lap 1 cautions very early in SNT races historically, but usually that just comes from something just like that error. He just didn't have the tires under him, and he got going spinning out of turn 4. Luckily, able to keep it straight. The tires were spinning, not the car itself. And when you don't have that right traction, you're going to go sliding out of control whether you like it or not. Unfortunately, it's going to catch up to a driver like Tigner there, and it's going to do him in badly. Cole Wilson right now, the number 22, black and white Monster Energy Machine. Tonight his paint scheme is back, but it looks very similar to what you might have seen last week. Cole Wilson had a little bit of a troublesome time getting the paint scheme onto his car for last week's event. It looks like he's got the Monster Energy decals tonight, running in 8th. Same was for Kenneth Garrell. Kenneth looking much better as well. He's got his regular number 57 back in form. Currently, Kenneth runs P10. Last time we were here, Kenneth Garrell was caught up in a major incident where the front of his car came completely apart, as in no hood, and he had to run around like a modified for the rest of the race to even get a top 15. It looks like tonight, 15 drivers took to the green flag, and that's how many are on the track right now, but Kenneth certainly not wanting to replicate those early problems as Carmen Chandler and Henry Caloff get up to first and second. Caloff has done this a few times before. He finds himself once again up to P2. He's a very hard charger on these starts of races, and he makes no exception at these tire-heavy tracks. Something like Dover or even some of the intermediate tracks, Caloff decides to get going fast, put the power down, and worry not about the long-term strategy, but try to bank on some chaos a little bit later. Not everyone has an easy time at Dover, so Caloff understands maybe we'll get a caution in a few laps time. And if you do, it means you can head down to pit road and keep that track position and continue fighting. Might not have the fastest raw pace, but he qualified strong to begin with, and he has a team to work with. Aaron Schugel now heads down to the inside, and the number 8 will let him by. That's Aaron Schugel for 8th place. He'll get by Carter Casey. While his teammate Caloff gets away big time, Aaron Schugel is in a little bit of a different circumstance. And we're not just talking about this race. We're talking about his experience with the Xfinity car. Schugel has been for a long time a member of IORA competition on Thursday nights here at FTN. And we recently spoke about his successes and sometimes his failures in that league. And he suggested that this car has just not gone the way he's wanted when it comes to the package and the way it drives. Schugel, he felt he previously was a top 5 driver in that league before they made the switch to the Xfinity cars, and now he finds himself struggling for top 10s just based on his driving style versus what the Xfinity car demands out of someone. So Schugel has seen himself take a little bit of a step back ever since IORA has switched to the Xfinity cars. He has not been able to put away one win from season 4 to now. IORA is entering its 7th season at the end of this month. Schugel's best run came at the Auto Club Speedway in a head-to-head with Alexander Balderas, but thanks to a pit stop failure, he lost that race entirely. In SNT, his performance hasn't been all too spectacular either, but he's been a consistent driver in the single digits whenever he's raced. The big thing for Schugel is breaking out of that funk and finding something that gives him an edge when it comes to these Xfinity cars. That's something he'll desperately desire if he wants to move forward, but right now, looks like he might be moving backwards. Contact there from Carter Casey. Casey not afraid to give him just a little bit of a tap, although Schugel is going to hold on for now. The big trouble for Aaron Schugel, it just remains the same. Doesn't matter where we go week after week, if you're not comfortable with the car, you're not going to succeed. Right now, Schugel is getting moved back and forth there with Carter Casey, as Carter gets the advantage into turns 3 and 4, and Aaron heads back to 9th. Vinny Tigner for P5. He gets himself there just behind Jim Thurston. Braden Hunsicker gets up to 3rd as well, so we got some hard chargers getting up to the front of the field. Henry Caloff was previously where Braden is right now, but as you can see, Caloff is making gains on your race leader in Cameron Chandler. The CB Fabricating Chevrolet has not gotten a win in over a year and a half in SNT racing. One-time race winner, getting the job done previously in Talladega. Been a while ever since that point, but definitely Caloff knows he's got it in him. Recently, his league successes have been pretty fair. He got one big victory in OSRL Cup Series action in Richmond. He was able to get the job done for his first and so far only career victory just about 3 months ago. So he knows he still has that winning racing tick in him. He just has to find it. It's an itch that needs to be scratched right now for Caloff, and in the last few laps he's been gaining big, but notably, you take a look from lap 12 to right now, he fell off massively. That's about a half-second lost in only about 3 laps. But maybe Caloff's style of racing already getting back to him here again. He is perhaps the most aggressive driver of anyone when it comes to opening up these events. 0.26 down to 0.74, so he's lost about a half second in 4 laps officially here. That means he's already getting reeled back in by drivers who are saving their stuff a little bit more. This is where Braden Hunsicker is going to have that advantage. He got by Thurston on pace, but he's been a little bit more conservative. This is where the best of both worlds come into play. You don't have to be the fastest driver to make the most passes. Instead, you just have to bide your time and let the field come to you. That's exactly what's happening right now, as for Henry Caloff, it looks like he is due to be passed any moment now. Looking low, Kalof's got some company. Braden Hunsicker takes that move to the bottom, and he sticks it in just 2 turns. Next up is Jim Thurston, and it looks like even Vinny Tigner is going to get a piece of the pie here. The number 96 heads down to the bottom. Vinny Tigner is going to try to make it 3 in just 2 laps. He's right behind Kalof again. And although Henry's going to stick it down to the bottom here, doesn't look like it's going to be anything that lasts long. Thurston again, momentum out of the outside of turn 4, gets away. Kalof is passed. And the number 12's got to watch his step now because Kalof certainly doesn't want to lose any more position. But it's hard to gain when you're on this downward spiral. So far, the advantage is in the favor of that number 12. Tigner looks to the bottom, makes the pass. Simple as that. Jackson Van Pelt, notably, he finds himself right now exactly where he needs to be, running in 6th. Not inside the top 5 by any means, but letting the racing come to him. And this is where we get these long green flag runs. We have bundles of drivers running at their own individual paces. The top 5 right now is spread apart by 2 seconds. 6th down to 10th is spread apart by about 3 seconds. And 11th on back is spread apart by 7 seconds. Going back to Curtis Sanford, who currently is running last on the order here. Last time by, he ran a 26.391, so Sanford struggling the most of anyone, but this is his first career race, so still a lot to learn for the burgeoning driver of the 26. Tyler Sevier in the number 77 at 9 seconds back on your leader is caught up to Mike Hill. You got Joseph Miller in the number 16, also a rookie here. And of the rookies, he's running position number 3 of 4. You got up in front Braden Hunsicker, then you got Cole Wilson and Cameron Chandler, and then you got Joseph Miller here, and further back is Curtis Sanford, who hasn't gotten up front just yet. Kalof now side by side with Jackson Van Pelt. And to enter the top 5, this is the move that, of course, Jackson has to make. With them, he's also bringing Cole Wilson, and Wilson would like to be the 3rd rookie inside the top 5, if, of course, he can make both passes here. Taking a look on board with Cole Wilson. Left side of your screen, driver telemetry. You'll see exactly what he does now as we go lap after lap. 4th gear, doesn't look like any gear shifting is prominent for anyone. Oh, contact for Jackson Van Pelt. Both drivers let off, but Cole Wilson will get away. He'll make the pass, but now Carter Casey's going to be coming in hot. Jackson is able to save it nicely, but I'm sure he's not at all happy with the number 22 who goes for the by all means approach and makes the pass, even though it wasn't the cleanest of them. Now Carter Casey gets away from Jackson Van Pelt. The Lyco 07 gets pushed back into P8. And into the wall. Aaron Schugel also in the wall. Both drivers get some damage here, and from bad to worse for Jackson Van Pelt. Now some desperate attempts are going to be made to defend upon the number 56. A very bad 2-lap sequence there for Van Pelt, all starting with that contact from Cole Wilson. Wilson is now going to be comfortably in 6th place, but any chance he had at getting up there a little bit higher to something like 5th or 4th, going to be out of the window, at least for now. All the while, the inevitable might happen tonight as Cameron Chandler leads the way. 26 laps in, Cameron's got a 1-second advantage over the rest of the field. You got Braden Hunsicker right now running in 2nd place. He's been about a second back now for some 10-15 laps. And looking at the gaps, they're consistent, but they're not in the favor of Braden here. It looks like he's really mellowed out at about 11 to 12 tenths away. Not enough to see any gains, and he's certainly not losing too much time either, but it doesn't look like right now Braden has the stuff to get back up there to your top driver in Cameron Chandler. Chandler's been looking for that chance to break out and get a race win. It looks like in the early going, this might be his night as James Thurston runs in 3rd, and Vinny Tigner, although he's recovered from the early bobble, he's only gotten himself to 4th. 4th place so far for Tigner, 3rd place to Thurston. Both of your front row drivers no longer inside the top 2. Matter of fact, your leader coming from the 2nd row, and from 8th up to 2nd, Braden Hunsicker is the biggest mover of the night. The 00 Haas machine has been able to come through from the back of the top 10 right to the front. has had a remarkably consistent pace. Almost looked like maybe he'd be going for the Henry Kaloff strategy of burning through fast, but instead, it looks like that practice pace is just coming to fruition. Kaloff now going to be battling against Cole Wilson. Wilson looks to the inside. Kaloff continues to defend his position, and again, Wilson, he started 6th. He is in 6th. Henry Kaloff started 5th and is in 5th. They don't want to give away a spot, the 63 team for sure. Right now, of the 3 drivers on the track tonight, KDR's flagship driver is its leading driver once again, so they don't want to give up a top 5 opportunity, although Schugel is in the top 10. It looks like right now no chance for Elijah Hoy, as he did not take to the start of this race. Only 2 of their drivers remain, and Schugel's got more trouble in the wall as Kenneth Gorell makes a dramatic pass. And now, Aaron Schugel down to 10th with another nick of damage on the side of that number 56. Compounding errors for the 56 here. And Aaron Schugel, I tell you what, not a good start to this race. It started with that Cole Wilson incident, but another hit in the wall means he's only losing more control there. And you can see when he comes out of turn 4, he is wicked loose, coming about 30 degrees to the outside of the barriers. And if he loses it, gets on the throttle a bit too early, it could mean our first caution of the night. Hopefully, Schugel gets it together. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Henry Kaloff is still defending against Cole Wilson. Wilson getting rather loose, dropping down to the bottom. He is still not done. He'll dive deep into turns 1 using the low groove. But at the same time, look who's coming through. Carter Casey, faster than both drivers ahead of him. It looks like Carter gained that redemption for his first incident. Mike Hill comes to pit road. Curtis Stanford is as well. 33 laps in, we might just see a 4-stop strategy. Fuel limit is coming in at 65% today, so 30 to 35 laps. That's the initial window. We've just gotten through it. And to the inside, Chris Tripp goes on the number 56. Schugel now outside the top 10. Vinny Tittner still 4th. Meanwhile, it's a 3-driver race to get inside the top 5. Henry Kaloff on defense is still winning. Carter Casey coming through on offense, trying to pass both drivers. And now Cole Wilson, after an incident before with Jackson Van Pelt, he's caught right in the middle. Wilson hasn't been able to find his way through so far with a 65% fuel limit. If we want to see a 2-stop race, we have to see drivers go up to lap number 50, which could happen here if these drivers are still staying out. 50 laps might be the ideal approach to going to pit road tonight. Keep in mind, if we see our first pit stop cycle at lap number 50, that means our next cycle would begin at about lap 100, and that would be the final pit stop cycle of the race. If our pit stop cycles began at about lap 30, where the initial cycle began for Mike Hill and Curtis Stanford, then we see 4 pit stops. We would see 30, 60, 90, 120, which would be quite a lot. If we see 40 laps, which some drivers could opt to go for, it would be 40, 80, 120. Maybe those pit stops would be pushed up a little bit earlier so you could get some of those stops in and then have a long run to finish. That's all driver's choice tonight, but the fuel limits have gotten significantly stricter here in SNT, which means that tonight a pit stop is mandatory, and it appears that tonight 2 pit stops will be necessary to get to the end of the race. 15 drivers, 2 of which are off the lead lap. The rest of the field is still in good shape. As it stands, Cameron Chandler is your leader. 0.7 of a second behind is Braden Hunsicker, who has been making gains as we come across the start-finish line time and again. We've seen Braden get a little bit closer, and that's maybe because pressure's being mounted now by the driver, the number 96, James Thurston. Thurston not one to back down from a challenge, even if he is going to play the quiet route early. He's a driver who works in silence and works well. Got an incident, but it looks like the caution flies for an ailing number 26. Curtis Stanford pulls it out of the way. Nevertheless, it's your first caution of the night. Stanford cause of caution number 1. Let's take a look back now and figure out what happened. Looks like a pretty simple cause and effect here. The 26 was riding alone at the time of the wreck, and coming out of turn 4, Got on the gas just a bit too early and came around spinning. Simple spin, yellow flag flies. Stanford down to pit road right now, 15th place, 6 laps down as a result of the incident. Nothing major going to occur after that one. Luckily, all drivers are in one piece, and so we're going to see them all head down to pit road together, led by Cameron Chandler. This is your first pit stop cycle here for the entire field, coming in at lap number 40, which again means that if we see another run, might have to save a little bit of fuel under green to get to the end. 40 to 90 to 140 would be the estimate right now based on stint data. They're going to have to save big time under caution to get the distance if they want to go green. Pit road entry, it's empty. Your exit, however, will be packed now as we'll see who gets out first. Making moves early, it's going to be Cameron Chandler over Hunsicker, Tigner, Thurston, Cole Wilson, Carter Casey, Henry Kaloff, Jackson Van Pelt, Kenneth Gorell, and Chris Tripp. Last man in your top 10. That's how they rolled out. And the 88 still has the race lead. Yellow flag number 1 of the day, so we'd like to remind you again about our programming schedule for the rest of the week. Kicking it off, of course, with our racing here in Dover. We're going to have another great race tomorrow, a 500-miler at that, at the virtual Daytona International Speedway. That's right, the Southtona 500, one of the longest events ever broadcasted on FTN, and it's going to be one for the ages. We have more than 25 drivers registered for next-gen stock car action at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, with hundreds of dollars on the line. There's a big prize pool. The Southtona 300 saw the winning driver win $300. So for tomorrow's event, it's $300 to win as well. $200 for second, $100 for third, and $45 for the pole position. Tonight, however, contributes most of the championship fight in SNT and the big racing battle, of course, for that overall crown. Cameron Chandler, a driver who's unfamiliar with SNT coming into the year anyway, has proven one of its best drivers. With no wins so far on the season, his key has been consistency, and he has been an example of what it takes to become the most consistent. Top 5 after top 5 so far. His worst finish on the season was a top 10, and he got that through at Daytona. So even then, he doesn't have much to prove. He just has one more thing to achieve, and that, of course, is the checkered flag. Cameron Chandler's going to lead him in this time by, and up on top, Braden Hunsicker. It's going to be the rookies getting to the front of the field early, but a stutter on the top side leaves Thurston up to the top for P2. Wide, Henry Kaloff on the top is going to be able to get one from Hunsicker, who makes a massive error. Braden now trying to get himself back up in the top 5. He is desperate to take those positions and quickly convert them again. Now to the inside groove, Hunsicker's got Carter Casey working up top. Side by side further back, Vinny Tigner, once again, not a strong restart as the number 12 is currently in 10th. A far cry from the top 5 positions he currently ran in, of course, to kick off the night. Currently, of course, at the front of the field, you've got James Thurston and Cameron Chandler, and this time around, they're side by side. Thurston nearly up to the wall. He barely keeps himself together, but he still has the advantage coming out of turn 4. Great exit for the number 96, keeps him exactly where he needs to be. Cameron Chandler, in the meanwhile, well, he's got himself a little bit more work to do. For the first time all night long, it appears he's working in dirty air, something he is not used to here in Dover. Thurston able to take that lead by force. He's got some experience at this track. Now he just has to use it wisely. Cameron Chandler now has to get to grips to what it's like to be not the race leader, to instead be part of the train. Cole Wilson gets up to third again. Henry Kaloff is in 4th. Braden Hunsicker is in 5th. So these 3 drivers could begin to work as a train together. It's a little bit of a different look at the front of the field. A lot of those same drivers, but the orders have been completely swapped. And as a result, the number 96 has full control. It's Jim Thurston up to the front of the field. Thurston and Cameron Chandler working 1-2. Vinny Tigner's gotten himself up to 9th, just a little bit of a change from where he was beforehand. Kenneth Gurrell didn't have the strongest of starts, getting nearly involved with some incidents, including those of Aaron Schugels, but now he's gotten himself back up into the top 10 as well. Nice to see Gurrell making some early movements in the positive direction. Started 9th, as high as 7th, low of 10th. Currently in 8th. He's been consistent, but been pretty far off the leaders most of the night. Good restart or 2 might make the difference, however. We see that Kenneth has speed, just don't know what it's going to take for him to fully apply it. Aaron Schugel on the flip side of the coin has been moving on the down and down for most of the night. Under green, he got up to as high as 8th and was looking to make some moves to go further, but then got stunted with some contact. As a result, finds himself right now back in P10. Was as low as 13th, however, so he's up 1 on the day from qualifying and up 3 compared to his lowest position, although he's down 2 on his peak of the day so far, which was about 25 laps ago. So a lot of work to be done here for Aaron Schugel. Just comes down to that long-term work and that process that needs to come to fruition. If Schugel wants to go back to being that race-winning contender, he needs to find his way out of trouble with the Xfinity car, and confidence, something that just needs to be improved upon for the driver of this number 56. Nevertheless, up in the front of the field, James Thurston, he still rolls. He's got himself up on top, and he's kept it there for the entirety of this run. The restart proved nice to him, and that's all he's needed. He got behind, of course, Cameron Chandler. Chandler might not be all too experienced. He's proved he's got the speed. Cole Wilson is in 3rd, and it looks like right now he's only 0.3 of a second away. The unbelievable thing right now is that Wilson has not been able to show this pace for the first 50-some laps, but by no means was he restricting himself. Only that he was fighting in the back half of the top 10 and had to work his way up 6th to 3rd, but this is by and large the highest position he's running. He's been as low as 8th, so he's been inside the top 10 all night long, but now he's starting to show himself out a little bit more relative to anything else. 53 laps in out of 150 here, and now that we passed the 3rd-way marker, we have 1 more pit stop expected for all of our top drivers. Cameron Chandler, he told us before, he's coming out of the Northeast, and this is his home race. Expecting to do very well tonight and put together a strong performance, and to be denied that, I'm sure he would hate it. So even if he's now just a few tenths back and has lost a little ground, he's not going to give up just yet. This is a night he needs to win. Henry Kaloff Racing, 2 top 10s right now. 5th place in Kaloff and 10th in Aaron Schugel. Right now, Kaloff again ahead of his teammate. That could change, of course. He's no longer going to be in the top 5 as Carter Casey tries to look low on him. But either way, Henry Kaloff has proven the best asset of his super team so far this season. He's put together up to 6 drivers on track at once so far, consisting of drivers including Michael Deitch, Aaron Schugel. Not to mention, you've got guys like Elijah Hoy or Tegan Fox or Matthew Fastnod. An abundance of names have come through the KDR shop, but none have risen to the top the same way as Henry Kaloff has. Henry, simply put, has been the top driver in this organization. No matter how you slice it, he has the accolades, he has the performances, and he has the consistency. Even his down nights have kept him inside the top 10 in the championship picture. Now, he just needs to stay calm and collected, and he might have a chance to still come away with the top 5. Up running inside the podium early, backed off a little bit since he really used up his rubber. Just has to be efficient from this point onward if he really wants a chance to come away out with a victory. Vinny Tigner to the inside on Jackson Van Pelt. That's a quick move, and that will be for 7th place if he can make it stick. Jackson's going to work on the high side, but he loses room, and that's exactly what Tigner needed. Now, Vinny Sainter set on the number 63, and Tigner's made a pretty good recovery of this run. He was down in 12th, now he's up in 6th, and co-owner Carter Casey, the league owners, might be the next battle together. Carter Casey is going to have to watch his back here, as it looks like Tigner is somewhat quicker. All in all, a good spread out for the entirety of the field here across the lead lap. Everyone's spread out by 12 seconds. The number 77 of Tyler Seaver is the last driver in this lead lap. Joseph Miller then is going to be 12th and second to last on the lead lap himself. Most of these drivers can see each other right now. Tyler didn't get off to a great start. He's a little bit further behind, but the rest of the field is still more or less in touch with itself, which is good to see. Thurston right now, though, is breaking away, and it's gone from a 1/10.5 to 7/10 of a second. What was a Cameron Chandler jump out to begin this race, and a dominant start has slowly become another Thurston race lead, which could become his third race victory of the season. By and large, Thurston has been the dominant man so far, and it's been a long time since we've seen both Matthew Weeks and Jordan Kuntz refrain not only from winning this deep into the season, but refrain from racing. Both of your championship juggernauts from 2024 are not in this event. And again, they're both having some troubles in terms of finding wins this early. Competition is definitely heightened between regular faces who have returned like Thurston and Tigner to new drivers like Cameron Chandler and Cole Wilson. It's very clear now that the landscape of winning these races has changed once again. Kuntz, last year, he was able to get victories in the first 3 races of a campaign, both times over. Matthew Weeks, within his first 3 starts of a season, both times over, he was able to get a win. Now, looking a little bit different as new drivers have taken themselves up to the top of the standings and to the top of the boards. I think now we're looking at new faces to control championships henceforth. Number 12, Vinny Tigner, working just behind Carter Casey here. That's the way it's been for the past 15 laps, but now they're as close as they've been all night long. Tigner to the inside. He'll shoot down to the bottom and go for an easy one-step pass. Very challenging to go for multi-groove racing here in Dover. There are multiple grooves available to the driver. We see some drivers working all the way to the bottom, some of which are using the middle, but you can't really stay side by side for all too long without compromising someone's line. Dover, we mentioned it very early in the broadcast, is a lot like a track, say for instance, Bristol Motor Speedway. High banking, you want to get down to the bottom and you want to cut that distance. Mike Hill will be heading down a pit road once again for a 30-lap stint, his second of the day. He's going to put him 2 laps down currently. He's on the alternate pit call that nobody else has decided to go for. Nevertheless, when you talk about Dover, using that one line perfectly is necessary for fast laps. You go up high to start, you slowly work your way down to the bottom of the track, and then you can use the middle and take it up high by the time the lap concludes, and you do it all over again. Dover has a lot more room than Bristol. It's twice as long, coming in at about 1 mile in length, which means that if you want to go side by side and get a perfect lap, both things can't happen at the same time. Braden Hunsicker coming up on Cole Wilson here. It's the battle for the podium. Right now, Cole is in third. Hunsicker, simply put, is not. But that could change as the driver, the 00, looks up high. Can't get a move on there, but looked low instead. Down to the bottom, here comes Hunsicker. Looking low and looking deep. He'll make the pass there. Cole Wilson going to have to look for a new route. It's been passed. Kenneth Gorell, the number 57 here, coming up on Aaron Schugel. Now we got a gaggle of 4. Henry Kaloff is falling a little bit further back again. Kaloff has been so strong on these starts, but it looks like he's burning up his stuff to bring that strength together. By no means is he a bad driver, but it only means now that he's struggling in the long term, prioritizing those big, fast jumps, hoping for a caution, but you're never guaranteed any breaks when it comes to SNT racing. That's for sure. And again, that practice is put into principle as the 63 remains, P8 as it stands. 69 laps in, nice lead for James Thurston. It's continued on as now the rest of the field comes to lap number 70. Looks like one driver in the wall big. It's Aaron Schugel once again. And it's the third time he's hit the wall. Such a bad route for the 56. Hitting the wall high, and it's caught him. Third time is not the charm, and you can see, I think this time around, might have some serious damage on the suspension. We'll see what happens as he gets through for the next few laps, but Schugel has pushed his luck before, and it looks like he has done so once again. Number 90, Chris Tripp. He's got himself rolling just behind, and he's looking rather opportunistic here in the driver of the number 90, Hardy's black Chevy Camaro. This paint scheme's been taken out for a little over 15 times over the course of the last year and a half. Chris Tripp has been pretty solid in terms of the shorter tracks, and since Dover, we said it before, drives like one, we expected to see him up inside the top 10. It hasn't been the easiest. It's been a little bit more of a struggle perhaps than you'd like. Nevertheless, he's making things happen to stay right in the thick of it. It's a group right now of 6 drivers, going from Mike Hill, who's a lapper, got him right there in the 27. Then you have Joseph Miller, the rookie in 12th, all the way up to Henry Kaloff here, who is in 8th. It's a big train. It's the biggest train right now. These are the drivers closest to each other relative to anyone else on the circuit. Looks like right now they're doing a pretty good job of just staying in line and working that draft. That's what it comes down to. It's not necessarily complacency, but it's all about finding your rhythm and finding the drivers that you can work with. The drivers who are easy to work with. The drivers you don't have to stress yourself all out about when it comes to working with. And so far, that is exactly what we've seen. This field, it's found its rhythm, found its groove, and as such, 74 plus laps in, we know who's where and how they're going to get there. The front of the field has been solid. The best drivers have risen once again to the top, and even Vinny Tickner found himself again inside the top 5. 75 laps in out of 150, and it's James Thurston still at the top of the board. The number 96 will come across the line once again to bring in halftime points. The second half of racing has only just begun. Thurston has kept himself up on top, and it looks like there's no stopping him to this point. He's led, check it right now, a total of 34 laps out of 76, which means he's led about half the race so far. If he leads 75 laps on the night, it means that he will have automatically led the most laps on the day, no matter what. That's just a few extra bonus points that'll head his way if that happens. Curtis Stanford with a big wiggle down to the bottom in that number 26. He'll get away from the rest of the field, and luckily nothing else comes of it. Fastest lap on the day so far for Curtis Stanford, a 24.23. And that came in at 151.4 miles an hour. Relative to Thurston's quickest time, well, looks like no difference in the time and scoring sheet right there, but overall, the differences on lap-over-lap averages have been major. That time by, Thurston, your leader, ran a 25.96. Whereas the driver who is in last right now, Curtis Stanford, he ran a 28.931. Most drivers are still in that 25-26 second bracket. This group has gotten a lot tighter since we last checked them. One in the wall, that's going to be Kenneth Gorell. Now it looks like Schugel's got a shot to go to the inside. Aaron Schugel, this time he benefits from a mistake, and he will get by. Huge push for Schugel as he gets turned around. The 56 goes spinning, and from bad to worse, a glimpse of opportunity turns into our second caution of the night. Aaron Schugel goes around, caution is out, and he's got that serious damage we talked about before. Now it looks like he'll have to head down a pit road. Caution's out. Aaron Schugel, he made a pass there on Kenneth Gorell. Looked like he had it clear. Gorell went down to the bottom. Both drivers met each other. Up the track the 56 goes. Gorell shot down, but it looks like Schugel gets all the damage in this one. Second pit stops of the night coming at about lap number 81, so this is interesting. We'll have about some 70 laps from this point to the end of the race. I don't think drivers can go that distance without one more pit stop in between, which means we might see an impromptu pit stop cycle under green to finish off the race. Yellow flag number 2, pit stop cycle number 2. Thurston leads him in. Very likely he's the man who leads them out. Last time through, when Carmen Chandler had the advantage on pit road, he was able to take the field through. Now, Thurston is just hoping to do the same. Four tires and fuel remains the recipe for success tonight. No differences as drivers get rolling. It will be Thurston, Chandler, Hunsaker, Cole Wilson, Vinnie Tigner, Carter Casey, Jackson Van Pelt, the first 7 drivers out. And Henry Kaloff is quick to pass as he gets by for 8th. Miller and Schugel round out the top 10 off pit road. And again, Jim Thurston is in control. We'd like to thank our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations for bringing the action to you tonight. Once again, leading the sim racing industry with the world's most innovative, most realistic online racing sim for more than 16 years. iRacing.com is your place to go to start your sim racing career with options for stock car racing, open wheel racing, sport cars, dirt, road, oval, anything you can think of, and anything in between. Visit iRacing.com to start your sim racing journey today. Got a little bit of time in between, and currently James Thurston is your race leader. 1 lap to green. We'd like to thank our friends at iRacing.com, but we don't have time for any video commercials. We'll stay here on FTN Broadcasting and bring you coverage of restart number 2. Thurston, Chandler, Hunsaker. That's the 1-2-3 with Cole Wilson. Just to their outside, he's currently running in 4th. The field returns to action as we get going for lap number 83. It'll be your second restart of the night, and it's going to start with Thurston once again in control. All about avoiding those critical mistakes, something that have been, of course, so apparent on these restarts. Vinnie Tigner, Cameron Chandler, and the like. Thurston has been immune from the mistakes so far, but it looks like now, whether or not he decides to turn on the jets is the bigger question. He laid back on the first start of the night, and he let that first restart fall right into his hands. This time around, a different chance. He's going to get away clearly. Cameron Chandler again makes a mistake on the jump. Braden Hunsaker gets up to second. Starting on the outside has proven bad for the field as Thurston gets away. Cameron Chandler going to be side by side right now with Carter Casey. Going down to the inside, Aaron Schugel once again a little bit loose. And it looks like all is well. The 56 keeps himself just where he needs to be. Jackson Van Pelt right beside. James Thurston, Braden Hunsaker, Cole Wilson, number 22. Currently, he's got himself up inside the podium, but that's largely because of that big mistake Cameron Chandler made. Again, Chandler squealing his tires on the restart, something that we've seen 3 times now in all 3 starts, both initial or restart. Drivers just can't seem to get away from getting those tires loose and finding themselves all over the place. Once again, the 88 finds himself in a similar predicament, having to make up that time to Thurston rather than fighting him to begin with. It's a really bad spot to find yourself in when you consider Thurston. He can be quicker than what we've seen. He probably is quicker than what we've seen. A lot of times, Thurston comes alive later more than anything else. A lot of time remains with more than 50 laps left. The crunch time point will be 100. Lap 100 to 150. By that point, we'll only have double digits remaining and we'll be past the triple digit marker. And Thurston will know then that's the time to go. Thurston still controls, and it looks like right now the entire field is single file, not just your leaders, even going down to the middle of the pack with guys like, well, Aaron Schugel, Jackson Van Pelt or Vinny Tigner all find themselves together. Currently, there's really not much between them that's gone on. They've just kept themselves in line, haven't kept any other problems, and right now, positions have not been made up or lost. Maybe there's an opportunity for something to occur, for another restart, another chance to get the ball rolling, but right now, it looks like we're quite stagnant. The only driver perhaps who could make some moves, of course, it's going to be that number 96, James Thurston, and the 00, of course, working well, Braden Hunsicker. Looks like Braden's going to be looking to the inside for the race lead for his first time in his career. Hunsicker gets it down low. Thurston had no choice but to give him the room, and now Thurston's compromised. This will give Carmen Chandler the opportunity waiting in the wings, but once again, Thurston pulls away. Ever so slightly advantageous, Thurston leads, and the 00 remains on his tail. "60 laps remaining. That's all that's left now. The drivers together, of course. Top three are separated by only 0.3 of a second. Very little remains for Thurston in this race. We know that, but the crunch time has not come. He's going to now try to bide his time and look at that strategy. While this is an enticing race for the lead, it isn't the end because we still expect one more pit stop to be necessary. We went to pit road 10 laps ago, which means it will be a 70-lap stint to the end of the race. We have not seen a stint longer than 40 laps so far, which means we really do not know what's going to happen from here. Anything that a driver expects might be completely wrong, and that's all dependent upon whether or not we get another yellow. If a caution comes out from this point onward, it would be practically safe to say the field can come home under green. If we don't get a caution, it's still up in the air, and it's very likely by lap 120, we'll see drivers bailing to pit road for that final emergency, so to speak, pit stop. One more stop still appears to be necessary with a fuel cell limit of 65% tonight. Last week it was 60, ever so slightly raised on the day. And Jackson Van Pelt heads up high with some door-to-door contact. Aaron Schugel makes his way through. Tyler in the number 77. Seaver now going to be in 12th, 4 seconds back on your race leader. Joseph Miller not too far behind as well. Your race leaders and all those on the lead lap are separated by less than a half a track. Everyone now running relatively similar laps overall. Matter of fact, that time by Joseph Miller with a 25.121 ran a lap time equivalent to 7th place Henry Kaloff, and the caution's out. Instant into the back of the field once again. It looks like we have trouble, and it comes in the form, potentially, of Curtis Stanford. Front runners look to be just fine. The yellow flag is out once again. Smoke billows. And we're figuring out right now, as it looks like it could be, Stanford once more. Yellow flag is out. Third time tonight. And it looks like, based on this replay footage, number 26 had another incident. Same one, as a matter of fact, up through turn 4. Unfortunately, this time catching the back end of that Toyota Supra. And as a result, caution is out once again. So this means that pit road strategy should be pretty simple from here. It's not going to come down to any problems. It's only going to be one run down to pit road, and the rest of this race can be handled under green. 50 laps expected to last for a 65% stint, which means that with a few laps under caution, just to save, have enough time to get to the checkered flag. Last pit stops of the day potentially for the field here, so speed will be necessary. Maybe some drivers taking a risk for a 2-tire set, but we haven't seen any differentiation on strategy at all tonight. Looks like the same remains on top. Thurston, Hunsicker, Chandler, Cole Wilson, and Carter Casey make up the top 5, with Vinny Tigner, Aaron Schugel, Henry Kaloff, and Jackson Van Pelt down to 9th, Kenneth Gorell in P10. With a little bit of time to spare, we'd like to thank our friends at iRacing.com once more and all of our partners live on FTN. We'll be right back after a brief break from the coverage, but you'll be watching non-stop. Take a look at the left side of your screen and you'll see all that you have to see. Drivers, of course, and promotions at the same time. We'll return right after this. Stay tuned. You're watching live on FTN, coverage of the Constitution 150.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Restart number 3, lap number 99. You're watching Saturday Night Thunder here at the Dover Motor Speedway, and we're coming through with Jim Thurston back on top. It's Thurston, Hunsicker, Cole Wilson, the 1-2-3 team at the front. Of course, you got Cole Wilson and Cameron Chandler alongside each other again. This time, Chandler's on the bottom groove, gets a much better restart, and this time, Hunsicker falters. But Thurston is far and away faster than both. Braden now is going to hold on to second place as Henry Kaloff goes deep for a 3-wide maneuver. He'll take his teammate Aaron Schugel with him. Vinny Tigner is the one who loses in this ordeal as the number 63 comes up the track ever so slightly. Big wiggles, big contact. Teammates take each other out. Caution. Both KDR drivers involved in one wreck. Kaloff hits teammate Schugel, and the caution's out. Here's a look again. Going 3 wide, it looked like Tigner gave in, but Kaloff with the momentum coming off the corner gets loose. Hits Vinny Tigner once, goes up to Schugel, then bangs back and forth, and by this point, out of control, taking the number 56. And Kaloff hit then by the 16 of Joseph Miller. Aaron Schugel involved again in a wreck. And he's had horrible luck today, and it just compounds that while Henry Kaloff gets involved in his first of the night. While the motor blows, he'd have to limp it down to pit road to get himself a new engine. An unfortunate drive there for Henry Kaloff, but this time around, everyone stays on the track, except for those involved. Miller, Kaloff, and luckily for Aaron Schugel anyway, it wasn't as bad damage, but he has to come in once again. 2 laps to green, this time by a little bit of time in between our racing once again. Thurston, Hunsicker, Carmen Chandler. That's the 1-2-3 order. This is your 4th caution of the night. It'll be your 4th restart coming right up as Mike Hill goes around to get himself some laps back. He's 3 down now. Maybe a chance he gets back on the lead lap with these last few cautions coming so quickly. Thurston heads down the back straightaway in a rather quiet scene as the field is still all in. We have not lost a driver. Anyone who took the green flag is still with us. Even Curtis Stanford, who's been on pit road now for the better part of 25 laps. He's been on pit road for 6.5 minutes now, but has not retired and hasn't shown any reason to incline himself to do so. So Curtis is still with us. He's just pretty far out of contention. Mike Hill might have a chance, in fact, for a lead lap run if these yellow flags keep coming his way. And the rest of the field, now Aaron Schugel goes one lap down, but everyone except Schugel up front from 12th to 1st is on the lead lap. One lap to green. And Thurston is right beside Braden Hunsicker all over again as we go racing. Still inside the top 10 after this long. It looks like now Chris Tripp gets himself that P10 accolade. He's been inside the top 10 on the fringes for the last few laps. These restarts definitely helping. As high as 9th and as low as 13th. Tripp hasn't moved all too much, but the Canadian has come down to Delaware and given us a strong showing so far. Less than 50 laps to go on the clock. Now it's time to see whether or not he can make the most of them. As, of course, the rest of the field has to come in clutch. This will be Thurston's third restart in the lead now, and we'll see whether or not it goes his way. Pace car is in, Thurston is off, and he rolls once again. The inside line so far in every restart's had the advantage, and Thurston proves it again, bringing Cameron Chandler out to P2. Hunsicker and Cole Wilson are going to find themselves alongside one another directly. This is the battle for third, the last spot in the podium here. Wilson's on the bottom, Hunsicker right up top. Braden right now has the advantage of momentum as the banking has really proved only one thing to benefit the outside groove. And that's the speed you get barreling through those turns. Something that you can't find on the low, can't find it really through the middle either. If you're confident in using the high side, then no doubt, of course, the 00. Any others have found the best part of it. And Braden now is going to be in third solidly as a result. Cameron Chandler, in the meanwhile, is now right behind James Thurston, and he's looking to make an impact. He's been in this position second place now for the better part of this race. He led the opening stint, but since that point, Thurston has led 64 laps. Again, if he leads more than 75 tonight, he's automatically locked up the accolade for the most laps led today. Cameron Chandler has led 41. They've only led together for 106 of 106 laps. They've got 107 of 107. They've led every lap today, and they're in the top two. Interesting to see that after all those laps, they're still right with each other, and they're keeping each other honest through and through. The top two drivers have proven to be the best of the best tonight, but now we don't know which of them is better. Thurston's had the advantage for the past 60-some laps. Cameron kicked things off strong to open it up for the first 40. Now, with 108 laps on the book so far, time is running out to determine who's got the stuff. Meanwhile, every other driver in this field has not led a lap today. Braden Hunsicker, Cole Wilson, Vinny Tigner, Carter Casey, Jackson Van Pelt, anyone else, even, of course, the driver who came away as your pole sitter in Tigner, has not led one lap today. An unbelievable circumstance, and the dominance of these two drivers has been something we can't deny. Undeniable performance for both drivers, Thurston and Cameron Chandler alike. Coming to lap 110, though, Thurston is breaking away, and it looks like slowly but surely it's becoming a clear Thurston advantage. Chandler has been able to keep up on the short runs, and when Thurston goes 110%, almost nobody can keep up with him, even in those short bursts. But when it becomes a long-term game, which Thurston always seems to find himself preferential to, there really is no way to stop him. And right now, it's going to be Thurston up and ahead with the rest of the field at his disposal. 40 laps to go now, and it looks like there's nothing more that can be done. Unless we get a few more restarts here. Chandler hasn't looked as quick on the same age tires. He would have to rethink his strategy fully. Braden Hunsicker right now, though, might have a shot to go out there and contend for second. Doesn't mean that the rest of the field is not up for grabs now. The lead looks rather secure. The rest of the field, in fact, is wide open. Kenneth Gurrell now races with Henry Kaloff for the fight for P8. Kaloff currently with the advantage. Chris Tripp and Tyler Sevier are going to work at each other. Looks like Tyler with the advantage up top. Chris Tripp passed. That for P10. Tyler in the 77s working the high groove notably, something most drivers have refrained from tonight. Looks like, as a matter of fact, he's made it work quite well. He got past Tripp easily using it. Now as he looks clear, he's just going to keep that high side barreling through. Vinny Tigner's coming up on Cole Wilson. It's going to be P5 for Tigner so far. Wilson just ahead. Hunsicker, Wilson, Chandler, not in that order, but in that status, all rookies. Second, third, fourth, all of which in their first career seasons, and they're all entering only their fifth career race in this league. Wonderful to see such strong drivers coming out of a crop of rookies, the likes of which we have not seen before. Matt Grab, Jackson Van Pelt, well, it's been a while since they've came in, and of course Gino Marrow. But this is a crop of rookies who are already ascending to the top of the track from their very first races. Wilson led many laps in Daytona, and it was Chandler, of course, who came away with an initial top 10. Then from there, Chandler came away with multiple podium finishes. Hunsicker has been the fastest in 2 consecutive final practice sessions. And they've come in as a group together. They might have not known each other before, but they certainly became acquaintances on the racetrack. Tigner looking to the inside, and here comes the 22 of Cole Wilson. Tigner, though, I think has the momentum here and should have the advantage if a pass is to be made. 35 laps to go. It looks like Vinny now shooting to the bottom. Can't quite do anything with it. Cole Wilson can't anyway. He's just gonna have to let it happen as Tigner gets by. So now with 34 laps to go and 19 laps on the stint already, making that 20, these drivers should be able to go the distance if they planned out their tires and fuel just right. Notably their fuel. That 65% cap is dangerous to work around tonight. But clutching and coasting during the yellow flag period should be the difference between making it and not making it. We had a few laps to cool down the engine entirely. Most drivers took them, and now Thurston is 0.8 of a second ahead, and very likely right now everyone is saving fuel. You don't want to push 100% if you have your position locked in. That's the mentality that every driver will now approach this with. Thurston and Carter Casey. For the first time in some 25 laps there with each other again. Let's see now what happens as we ride on board with Jackson Van Pelt. Carter Casey using that bumper, but it looks like that's not going to be enough. A crossover move for the 07 proves he's got a shot. Looks low, looks like he might have clipped the apron, so he can't make the pass, but Jackson Van Pelt surely is putting down that pressure. And that's something that Carter Casey's not a stranger to. Certainly isn't going to help him here. Lucas Oil Chevrolet keeps itself just a few tenths of a second up, and then a few seconds ahead, of course, of Henry Kaloff here. Kaloff has Kenneth Garrell and Chris Tripp to worry about. Right now, Henry is in 8th. His teammate, number 56, Aaron Schugel, in 14th. So it looks like after having 2 top 10s going to start the night, might be a little bit more of a lackluster race for the KDR crew, although Henry should be able to still pull away with a top 10 without any major errors. With 11 drivers on the lead lap, it's very unlikely that Kaloff falls all the way back to that tail end point. 29 laps to go. Vinny Tigner finding himself in that 4th spot now, just behind Braden Hunsicker. A podium could still happen here for Vinny if only he has the stuff to move past the 00. With a lot of time to spare, 50 laps to go, we would have said very likely. With 29 laps to go and significantly less time, admittedly, not quite sure. Not going to be a certainty in the slightest any longer, as Vinny Tigner's spent a lot of time battling to even stay up in 4th or 5th. Hasn't seen a lot of that upper spot ever since. He was in the upper echelon to start the night, remember, high of 1st. Since then, though, he has fallen back and hasn't been able to go anywhere higher than 4th for the remainder of the race. That one early mistake, slipping out of the opening start, That was the difference, and Tigner gave away the race lead, and he hasn't had it ever since. Speaking of the driver with the race lead, it is still James Thurston, and now coming to lap 125, it is official. He has led 82 laps on the night so far and counting, which means that, yes, he's led the most laps on the day, no matter what. Thurston is in hot pursuit of his third win this season. And it looks like, well, if he doesn't come away with that, he's still come away with big accolades, including a front row start and the most laps led on the night. They would lock that title up before the race even ended. It looks like by all accounts, he should be able to leave over 100 laps if he goes the rest of the way uncontested. Carter Casey and Jackson Van Pelt still fighting. Right now, Carter is now on the back end. It looks like Van Pelt getting through, but Jackson hasn't had the best of luck fully pulling away from his previous passes. You might remember involved with Cole Wilson before. Wilson gave him a tap on the quarter panel that sent him a few spots back, while Wilson right now is in 5th and Van Pelt's in 6th. Both of them have worked their ways back up from that incident independently. Really, that first wreck didn't mean all too much, not only because Van Pelt saved it, but also because the caution came out very shortly after. But Carter Casey's keeping that pressure here with 24 laps to go. 24 will become 23 as James Thurston comes across the line this time around. And next from there will be 22 laps to go. We'd like to thank our friends at TrackCams22.com for providing their camera services tonight for tracks and cars, as you see on screen. For the best camera views in all of iRacing, the best broadcasters choose the best cameras. Track Cams for Gourmets is the way to go. Visit their website at TrackCams22.com. With that said, we're going to crank it up now with 22 laps to go, getting it live and loud from the Monster Mile, Dover Motor Speedway. 22 to go, so let's crank it up with 22 laps to go, courtesy of Track Cams for Gourmets. "17 laps remain now for James Thurston as he continues his dominant streak this season, looking for what will be win number 3 on the campaign. Victory previously at Rockingham Auto Club, and now looking to make Dover another one of his conquered circuits. Again, we have not seen a repeat track type all season long. We have seen so far a superspeedway, a speedway, shall we say, in the 2-mile tracks. We've seen an intermediate, we've seen a short track, and now we've seen this 1-miler unique track, shall we say. 5 different types in the opening races, and next yet, we're going to have ourselves another interesting circuit. Speaking of, next week, it's going to be down to the Bristol Motor Speedway. Rockingham is a unique circuit in its own right, as is Dover. They're not really comparable, and then we have that short track in Bristol, so we keep these interesting, brand new experiences for drivers going. All those previous notes from former races really haven't meant all too much. You have to learn it on the fly if you want to be strong here in SNT. And that is exactly what Thurston has done. Battle for third right now is side by side. It's Hunsicker still up top. But Vinny Tigner at long last is beginning his breakthrough. And it looks like now, as he works out of turns 1 and 2, he's got the advantage. Braden has not let off. Hunsicker trying to make that middle groove work, but it looks like with Tigner each and every lap, he's diving in just a little bit more, just enough to make a difference, and he'll take the spot. Good for P3. 13 laps to go. Tigner back up inside the podium, looking for another top 3 finish. Vinny has been remarkably consistent with the podiums as well, although it might not be his strongest start. He has been there in the top 3 many a time. He was second last week. The week prior, he did not come inside the top 5, but beforehand, he's gotten himself a top 5. So he knows what it's like to get up there inside the podium places. A second or third in 2 consecutive weeks is a great start. A dozen to do it, and now it looks like it's going to be a firm hold. Third place, Vinny Tigner. Cameron Chandler still got himself exactly where he been all night long now. It looks like second place has been his calling, and even though he led laps early, it's only been he and Thurston leading, and Thurston took off, and he has not been heard from since. Leading now a total of 98 laps. He'll be coming around this time by for lap number 99 on that tour. It looks like he will be able to lead a total of about 109 on the night. 100 plus laps led for Thurston, as long as he just keeps those 4 wheels under him. Braden Hunsicker now might be falling prey to Cole Wilson. Wilson's a little bit quicker over the last few laps. He ran most recently a 26.112 relative to, of course, Vinny Tigner. That's a little bit slower, but either way, he's gaining on that 00, and this time by, he's just gotten that much closer. Hunsicker's got to watch out. That time through, he ran a 26.131. Cole Wilson ran a 25.98, which was the second quickest lap on the track. Only second to leader James Thurston, so Wilson is evidently as fast as he needs to be to make this pass. Now it's about catching and passing. Got to make the move, even if he's just set himself up. Watching on board now from Cole Wilson's perspective, it's pretty clear anyway that he knows he's got the stuff, but he's just got to find the right time to break out and make sure he gets the position. Hunsicker keeping him honest with 7 laps to go, but it's going to be very challenging to make all 7 miles of defense. No drivers really excelled with defense tonight, maybe save for Cameron Chandler or James Thurston. Those two were able to keep each other at bay early on, but ever since then, we've seen passes pretty freely all throughout the track. Similar battle now going to rage on between Chris Tripp and Kenneth Gorell, especially through the corners. These two get tight, but it's still closer up in front. Wilson looks to the bottom, can't quite make one tap for the quarter panel. He'll stay just behind. 6 laps to go. Further back, Jackson Van Pelt, about 3 seconds behind, as a matter of fact. Won't play a factor, but a lapper in Mike Hill might make the difference here. Hill is still going, and it looks like now the 27 is faster than all the drivers around him on that younger set of rubber. So lappers might make a big difference here if there's some last-second maneuvers. Hunsicker still plays defense. 5 laps to go. Thurston comes across the line. He'll make it only 4 laps remaining. Still, Cole Wilson has not made that move. Better now than ever. He's getting later and later to the point where he'll wash up the track. Mike Hill is faster, and he's putting down pressure. Hunsicker's got to look at that rearview mirror time after time and just hope nothing happens. Coming to 3 laps to go, this time by. Looks like still Thurston hasn't been able to lose any grip. Instead, he's even gained further. But for Cole Wilson, it looks like the opposite's happened. He has been shallow and stalled out now for the better part of 10 laps. Still can't quite find the grip to make the pass. Thurston, 2 laps remaining. Rest of the field is fully mellowed out now, everyone assuming their positions and getting in that formation for the checkered flag. One thing is for certain now that we see the season playing out in these first 5 races, there is a new sheriff in town. Thurston, looking to model one of the most consistent seasons we've seen in SNT history, is already going for that 3rd checkered flag in 5 races. White flag is out now for James Thurston and the number 96 crew. Win number 3, less than a mile away. No matter what type of track we've gone to, he has been on top of the board, and he's there once again. Coming through your final 2 turns, he's conquered the monster once more, and for Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport, James Thurston wins his 3rd race of the season, and he's already topped his win total for 2024 in just 4 race attempts. Cameron Chandler pulls it again for another top 5. Vinny Tigner, back-to-back podiums. "109 laps led. Cameron Chandler led 41. Those 2 drivers were the only to lead laps today, and they sure dominated. James Thurston, the Florida native, gets it done once more, as it looks like he is still trying to put a celebration in order. Thurston burns down the house, takes it right to turn 4, and continues the celebrating here in Dover, Delaware. Checkered flag is out, 109 laps led, and victory is his. James Thurston wins the Constitution 150. Then from there, Cameron Chandler comes away in 2nd, and Vinny Tigner finishes in 3rd. We'll speak to all 3 of them momentarily. Next up, you got Cole Wilson 4th, Braden Hunsicker in 5th, and Jackson Van Pelt P6. 7th place, Carter Casey, and 8th is Chris Tripp. P9 is Kenneth Gorell, and Tyler Sevier comes away with P10. 11th place then and there will be Henry Kaloff, with 12th in Mike Hill. Joseph Miller 13th. 14th place is Aaron Schugel. 15th is Curtis Stanford, with Elijah Hoy, and lastly, Matthew White, those who registered but did not start in today's event. So 17 registered, 15 started, and none of those who took the green flag retired tonight. James Thurston has done it once again. Race victory is his for the 3rd time this season, and keeping an early dominant stretch alive with another victory at another different track. James Thurston, another win, and it looks like this one came to you quite natural with 109 laps led.
Yeah, I came in here and I was like, normally I don't run too great at Dover. So I went and I did a full field run in practice. Got a lot of good information off of that and applied it straight to the race. I thought tires would mean more in the first run than they did. We're really not, because I saved my tires great in the first run, was going to catch up to the leader pretty good, and then a yellow came out, and realized pretty quickly that if you just sort of hold the lead, it's much easier to save your stuff than it is if you're behind. So after that, we just sort of held the lead as much as I could, fought off some hard fighting cars, and really like once you could just get through that like 15 lap area into a run, they just kind of get stuck behind you, and you could just sort of coast from there. And that's what we did. We just saved tires the whole time, and it really just ran a perfect race, all things considered.
And tonight, you mentioned long fuel run. You took that time in practice, but we didn't have a lot of fuel capacity, 65% limit, although it didn't come into play till the very end. Were there any concerns about fuel tonight?
Yeah, they're with like whatever the yellow was at like lap 75 or 85, whenever that was. Sorry. I was a little bit upset because I was gonna be right on the number to make it from there on a green flag pit stop, pitting at like a lap 95 or so. And so when that happened, it completely threw a wrench in my plans. And I mean, everyone's plans really, nobody could make it. And I was kind of seeing there if we have to pit with like 10 to go for like a 2-tire stop and a splash of fuel. But I think they ended up wrecking again. And we got another yellow, filled the car up with fuel with like 55 or so to go, like right on the money again. And after we got through a couple of restarts there, we took the green to the finish, and I just I had a few really, really rough laps there with some guys challenging. I'm sure it looked good on the broadcast, but after we cleared that, it was just smooth sailing from there. Just thanks to Power Smash, Infinity Speed Motorsports, JRS setups, and yeah, the IORA Cup Series. Just a really, really great race tonight.
And you've been dominant so far this season with another victory, your third, as a matter of fact. We'll go racing at Bristol next week. You can go out there and try to find another?
I don't see why not. It drives pretty similar to this. It's usually a good track to me. I think I'm just going to have to look out for wrecking cars.
That said, Thurston, another victory tonight here in Dover. Any final shout-outs you'd like to give?
Just thanks to you and all the fans. Just great to come out here and have fun.
James Thurston, 109 laps led from a front row start to race victory. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thurston coming on the move, and next up, of course, will be that number 88. Cameron Chandler so far, even though he hasn't found a win, he's proven already he's a championship contender with another top 2 finish. Chandler back on the podium, close tonight, and you started strong, but again, the victory eludes you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really wanted that one coming here to my home track. Had a chance, honestly, but it just I don't really know how James is so fast, and we were there. We kind of kept with him on that last run, lap times wise, but just a few mistakes, and he's a lot more consistent than what I was.
And you open up the race with a good restart, of course, the restart zone anyway. You got through, took the lead, and led for the first 41 laps, but the rest of the race didn't go your way. So you think there are any differences you could have improved upon to keep the lead?
Yeah, definitely could have got a better restart. I don't know if it was a second or third or whatever it was, but whatever one James got around me there, I was kind of trying to wait for him to be like not really expecting them to get a good jump. And for some reason, I saw him throttling up behind me, and I just decided to throttle up with him, and I gave him a nice little run and really made it easy for him there. But yeah, he honestly would have got around me anyway, so I don't really know what much to do there. Something just you have to go back, look on it, and try to learn from it.
Still a lot of time to review and improve, as you mentioned. Fuel tonight didn't seem to make much difference till the very end, but tires, especially on the restarts, caught a lot of drivers out, including yourself. How was it for you, since I believe it is your first race here at Dover?
Yeah, I've ran other races here in other leagues and officials, and normally the tire spin, it's kind of bad, but not as bad as what it was tonight. Outside it was almost every time you spin the tires, especially if you're in first gear. So normally first gear is faster here, but second gear definitely seemed to be the way to go.
Well, it looks like, again, podium finish. This first leg of the season, you've been remarkably consistent. Your worst finish was still a top 10 at Daytona. So, one more race until our first off week. It's Bristol next week. How do you feel about your chances?
Honestly, I'm hoping we can make it. I won't be, we'll be out and about somewhere, and it's going to be tight if we can make it back in time, but hopefully with a lot of the championship contenders not running this race, we can keep a nice points lead going into Bristol.
And a good buffer right now to keep that championship advantage. Cameron Chandler, second on the order tonight. If you have any final comments you'd like to give out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, really happy with our two teammates that did this race, Cole and Braden. We were all up front this whole run, so definitely a team to be looking out for.
Rookies on the rise, all three of you coming away with a top 5, and Cameron, you lead the trio there, second place here in Dover. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Chandler on the way, and one more driver to speak to. That's, of course, your league owner and back-to-back podium finisher, Vinny Tigner, going from second to third in the last 2 weeks. Remarkably consistent runs before we head to Bristol here, although you didn't lead a lap, you still come away with a top 3.
Yeah, I nearly wrecked the field on the start. Starting first, I can't believe I did that, but I'm glad nobody, everybody cut me a break back there. So, but yeah, I made a lot of mistakes tonight. It spent on pit road and had to come from the back, and so I just did myself no favors tonight. But to come back and to get a podium finish, pretty happy about that.
That first lap, as you mentioned, that was definitely the difference maker. Lucky you didn't get involved in big trouble there, but you hovered around 4th or 5th for most of the night. What did it take to break back into the top 3 for you?
I mean, just navigating that dirty air, it's a different beast back there. And but the way I got around this track tonight, I was pretty happy about that. And the way I was cutting the corners towards the exit, I was able to cut down better than a lot of guys tonight, and set up a lot of passes that way. So yeah, that obviously worked for me, and got me a 3rd place.
And again, trying out the brand new look at the tires and fuel, notably the fuel changes, 65% cap. How do you feel that went for you in the field tonight?
Well, we were hoping to have a green flag pit stop, but unfortunately we didn't get there, and I was looking forward to that, and that's kind of why we wanted the 65%. I think it changed the handling a little bit, and we wanted to change things up again like last week. We liked what we saw last week, so we wanted to do it again, and but didn't happen this time, and we'll think about how we're going to approach that for next week at Bristol. Not sure what the plan is, but we'll figure that out when we later in the week.
That's due to be found out. Our final race before our first off week of the season, and some big momentum for you personally heading into Bristol. How do you feel about your chances?
Oh, I love Bristol. I get around there pretty decent. So the last few times I was leading, and got taken out by a lap car, and the last time we were there, I think I finished top 5. I had a decent run going, so nothing flashy, but solid run, and hoping to do that again next weekend as well.
Perhaps a chance for a 3rd consecutive podium. Vinny Tigner keeping a strong run alive tonight in Dover. Any final comments you'd like to give out?
Yeah, of course, thanks to you for calling our races and everything you do for us. And thanks to the drivers that came out tonight. That was awesome. And hopefully everybody that tuned in to watch enjoyed that one.
Vinny Tigner, P3 on the day here from the Dover Motor Speedway, wrapping up the podium. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And with Tigner on the move, we've gotten the word from all of your top 3 finishers, and a very rare case where we spoke to every driver who led at least 1 lap. Vinny Tigner in 3rd didn't lead any, but Carmen Chandler led the first 41, and James Thurston took it the rest of the way for the final 109 laps of the night. What a dominant performance from those two, and particularly Thurston to get his third win of the season. With that said, tonight we're signing off at FTN Broadcasting and getting ready for the big one, which comes tomorrow. 500 miles of racing, live, of course, from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and we cannot wait to see you there. Tomorrow, the Southtona 500 begins at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'd love to have you back to watch more coverage on FTN Broadcasting, but for now, you've been watching from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway live on FTN Saturday Night Thunder. Exclusive Saturday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Congratulations once again to James Thurston coming away with the race victory, and we hope you all had a fantastic night watching. Can't wait to see you back for the Southtona 500 tomorrow. Thank you once again for your support, and have a fantastic night.